Good afternoon. Well, good early afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Freedom and Obesity Workshop. It is a free workshop, and I wanted to make sure to get this information out to you guys. I want to make sure to have my table turned just a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you guys will be able to watch some of this in replay later. I do want to welcome all of my guests here. I'm excited to share this information. It's very important information, and I'm glad to share it as I continue to get free and walk in greater freedom in this arena called obesity. I'm going to continue to share. Why? Because we need to get free. All of us, I don't want to be the only one to get free. We can't be. Just want to turn it on a little room music here. I have to determine, I can't be the only one that gets this information and decide to be free. It's really up to you to be free. One thing I have come to terms with, and I do understand, is when it comes to food, food is very territorial. We're really territorial about our eating, especially those of us who love the Lord, of course. We feel that we've given up so much. Excuse me, I got something in my eye. Oh, my goodness. We feel we've given up so much. You got to be kidding me. We feel we've given up so much that surely our food can't be an issue. Well, let me put this away. Well, when it comes down to our eating, that's one area that we really don't like to deal with. As a matter of fact, we become very territorial about our food, and also until we really get a handle on how our brain operates and how we function, we are more reactive to issues than we are proactive. That means we don't do anything about our health until our doctor says, you know what, you're at critical mass. You're at the point where a limb is going to be amputated, where you're in the hospital, whether you're in the course of having a stroke. That's when we want to get serious. Well, God has given us his word, he's given us his strategy, and he's given us his plan that we don't have to wait until something happens and then all of a sudden we want to rush to the doctor, take medicine, do something about it. By that time, it's almost too late. It's too late to do anything by that time. And so what's happening is that we're not paying enough attention to what's going on. So the first bubble I got to bust to even start, okay? The first bubble I got to bust is tell you that losing weight is not going to get rid of obesity, okay? I'm going to say that one more time. Losing weight is not going to handle the obesity issue, because obesity is a brain-based chronic disease. I'm going to say that part again. Obesity is a brain-based chronic disease that you can't get rid of. What can we do? We can get free. We can learn to manage. We can put the tools in place that will help us live a better life. Yes, help us lose weight. And yes, give us the best overall possibility of longevity. I'm going to try to say all of that again. We can learn to manage it. We can learn to lose weight. There are tools in place. There are things that we're going to have to face and deal with emotionally in order to give us the absolute best outcome. The question always will be, is do you want the best outcome more than you want the sugar? Do you want the best outcome for your health and for your life more than you want the bread and the pasta? Do you want the best outcome for your life more than dealing with the inflammation and all of the issues that happen in our bodies because of obesity? Now, right now, I am in classes studying to be a personal trainer, overall health and nutrition expert. And also, where else do I have experience? I've been on a diet since 11. Yes, I've been on a diet since age 11, and I am age 58. I'm going to be 58 in a couple of months now, so you can do the math on that. That means I have been in this very sad, very sad, chronic, taxing area. Losing, fighting, getting beat up in my life. Yep, I sure have. And to the people that are listening online, if you're listening at the door, or if you decide to come into the classroom, you can share this. That's okay. So, one of the things that I want to share with you, of course, that obesity is a brain-based chronic disease that we have wired our brains to be obese, or I call it the obesic mindset. And there again, that's something that people don't want to deal with, and you might even have an issue listening to it right now as I talk to you. And you might feel that little friction in your mind that, you know what, I really don't want to hear this. As a matter of fact, a lot more people should be here than are. And while I'm here in Berrien County, we actually lead in the state for obesity. That's very serious, that we're leading the state of Michigan in obesity. That's scary, that we're leading the state in obesity and in chronic obesity and all of the diseases that come along with obesity. Of course, we have diabetes, we have high blood pressure, we have all of the chronic diseases, we have all of the heart issues that come along with being chronically obese. And people don't want to deal with it. Like I said in the beginning, you could talk to me about anything, especially at my sickest. At my sickest, I was 305 pounds. I'm going to say that again. At my sickest, hey, Pastor Faye, at my sickest, at my sickest, I was 305 pounds. I'm going to say that again. At my sickest, I was 305 pounds. I had weight loss surgery. That didn't get rid of obesity either. I lost weight, but I still had an obese mind. So what happened? COVID hit, life was lifing as usual, and I went back to the old coping mechanism called eating, snacking nonstop. Losing weight don't get rid of obesity. But what we can do, we can learn to manage it. We can learn to overcome it on a daily basis. But the obesic mindset will always be in us as a fail-safe default mechanism. You can't get rid of it. That's just how the brain is set up. So food is not the issue, but food is what we turn to as our drug of choice. Food is not the issue. It's that food became our drug of choice, so we turn to food in order to find balance, release, in order for the dopamine to hit our system just right, in order to bring calm to our nervous system. Food was what we chose. Some people choose drugs, alcohol, sex. Some people choose shopping. All of it is in the same category. It has everything to do with how you wired your brain to bring you back to normalcy, to bring you back to peace. Like I said, a lot more people should be here than are here, but that's okay, because I promised God, when I get information that helps me get free, I'm going to give it. And a lot of people are very surprised when I'm not telling you about these different diet plans, because a diet plan isn't going to solve your obese issue. I'm going to say that again. A diet plan isn't going to solve your obese issue. Now, I have a whole presentation that I was going to begin to lay out, and even as numbers are going up and down on Facebook, people are hearing it or they're looking at it and they feel that friction in their mind, and then they're backing out. Why? Because food is territorial. You can let me know in the comments if your food is territorial. I can remember going to fast food restaurants, and if they did not get my order right, I would be livid. I would be angry, that they didn't fix my burger how I wanted it to be fixed. And as a matter of fact, I remember a few times I would get all the way home, and I would either call them or I would get back in my car and go back to the fast food place and demand that they fix my food right. Because in my mindset, I paid too much. I paid too much for that Whopper with cheese for you to get my order wrong. Very territorial. And even now, people are crashing out in restaurants. They're fighting, they're throwing chairs, all of that stuff because of this territorial mindset over food. So I'm going to talk about the dopamine release. Thank you, Miss Sheila, for popping in. I'm going to talk about the dopamine release really quickly. So like I said, I have a whole presentation, but I just want to talk to y'all because you know what? It's time to start doing something about what we hear. So you're more than welcome to take notes, talk to me after the presentation. All of that's fine. You're just going to leave here with a little bit more information to make sure that you know you're not crazy. You're not crazy and you're not tripping. It's actually a neural wiring that's going on as to why you can't stop eating, or why when something happens, you feel it in you immediately. It happens so automatically that you want to reach for something to eat, something to snack on, and you don't even realize it, okay? So we're looking for the dopamine release. What happens is when you find that thing, when you eat that sugar, when you get those chips, it satisfies the need for dopamine in your body. You can start to crave dopamine as a way to settle your nervous system. Yep, as far-fetched as that might seem, it is absolutely true. You're not actually craving the chips. You're not actually craving the sugar. You're craving the dopamine. Because when you get that in your mouth, and I'm going to talk a little bit about hyperpalatable foods, which the fake food industry knows that all they have to do is excite your taste buds, turn on the dopamine receptors in your brain, and you won't stop eating it. That's why they do all of these experiments with lab animals, that they test it out on lab animals in order to bring it out on us, the lab animals that keep them rich, okay? Go ahead and make comments. You can go ahead and ask questions too, and I'll get to those as I'm talking. So you're craving the dopamine. So they are formulating foods, products with sugar, salt, and oil. Sugar, salt, and oil. Sugar, salt, and oil in certain combinations in order to make it hyper palatable. So when it hits your tongue receptors, immediately it releases the dopamine. That's why you're sitting at a table, the bread and the cinnamon butter, all right? The cookies, the sugar, you can't stop eating it because of what it's releasing in your brain and floating out through your whole body. That's why it's so important. And I am glad that this new administration is dealing with the food, the food system, because now, never in history have we had so many obese children. We have a nation full of obese children that at very young ages, they are having to deal with high blood pressure, diabetes, type 1 diabetes, insulin-dependent diabetes. Not children who unfortunately are born being diabetic, but these are children that develop diabetes because of their diets. Never in history have we seen that. Also, just interesting to note, never in history have we dealt with so many small children wearing glasses because of tablets. Just think about it, and you guys look at it too, when you're out there in the stores and you see little babies with their parents and the babies have on glasses. Like, how on earth is that possible? Unless, again, DNA-wise, a child is born with some type of malformation in their eyes that children wearing glasses, 2-3-year-olds with the glasses on because of spending so much time with this blue light screen in their eyes. And nobody's stopping long enough to ask these critical questions. You don't want to ask questions until it's at critical mass. I'm going to say that one more time. Most of the time, we don't want to ask any questions until it's at critical mass. When it's at critical mass, that's when you're going into the operating room to get an amputation. That's when the doctor's telling you about these blockages in your heart. That's when you can't walk up a flight of stairs. That's when you feel uncomfortable in your body. Your body's always sending you signals that you're at critical mass. But we don't like to pay attention. Say, I don't like to pay attention. Yep, we don't like to pay attention because there again, our food is our safety net. It's territorial to us. We like it. Okay, I'm going to talk really quickly about the DNA link. That's number 3, the DNA link. The DNA link. What's the DNA link? Well, we had a Big Mama now. Big Mamas, that used to be very rare. It used to be rare when there was a Big Mama. The obesity rate did not begin to have a sharp uptick until the early 80s. When the early 80s hit, that's when the influx of obesity began. If you were to think about it, and you guys online also were to think about it, before the 80s, it was very rare for a person to be obese, and especially morbidly obese. We're talking about my 600-pound life obese, okay? It was very rare. And again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus because at my sickest, I considered myself just a few pounds away from my 600-pound life episode. And I could watch these shows and I saw the same mindset. Very territorial, very blame shifty, very lazy in my thinking, pity parties, all of those things I did because I didn't want to accept responsibility for my life and for my body. It was just easier. It was just easier to blame somebody else. Or even if I did try to accept some responsibility, it was always shifted outwards. If the food wasn't like this, if I could only eat chocolate and do this, if this horrific trauma hadn't happened in my life, I would never turn to food. When the fact of the matter is, I wanted the food. Because I wanted the food. Because I wasn't smoking, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't partying, I wasn't sleeping around. So, Lord, you're not going to take my food. And I was angry at the Lord. I actually was angry at the Lord because he wanted me to deal with my eating. I knew gluttony was a sin, but it's the sin that we don't like to talk about because we're so engaged in it all of the time. All right? So, Big Mama now. Are there a bunch of Big Mamas in your family? Were there a lot of Big Mamas in your family 40 years ago? 50 years ago? No, there wasn't. So the diet industry and the fake food industry came together and made a wicked compilation. You were going to lose weight, but then you were going to eat everything you wanted to at the same time. And unfortunately, we still have the same thing going on with all of these many different ways you can lose weight. You can lose the weight and you can still have all that you want. And that's not so. One of the things that happened in our lives and in our family, food became the center of everything that we did. Food became the center. And in order to walk in freedom, you're going to have to be okay with decentering food. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why there's nothing here to eat. You got water, which a lot of us don't drink enough of. Let me know in the comments, you drink enough water now? Have you decided to? Are your poor organs dried out? Are you drinking more pop and juice, energy drinks than you do water? I was just waiting for an answer. While you got your pen writing your notes. Didn't think of it that way. As a matter of fact, a lot of the times when we're eating, we're actually thirsty. Yeah, you're actually thirsty. You're not hungry, you're thirsty. So learning to decenter food. Why is it that most of the times we have to have some kind of repast after a funeral? We go through this traumatic experience, burying somebody we love, and flip the hand over, go somewhere and gorge to try to numb that pain. Has anybody ever thought of that before? Anybody online, you ever thought of that before? Pastor Faye says she drinks more water. Have you ever thought of that before? That the reason why the repast is there? What would happen if you had a repast without food, without snacks? What would that look like? What would that look like if you actually had a homegoing celebration and you just met up to love on each other, share, and you didn't have plates of food everywhere? And then for the cousin Nam and the uncle Nam, after the repast, they go to somebody's house and hang out in the garage and get drunk again. You get food drunk, and then you get drunk with liquor. Because that's another way of not dealing with pain. We've used food artificially not to deal with pain. Something happens, first thing I want to do is try to find something to snack on. I'm feeling around. I'm thinking, what can I get to crunch on when actually I need to pray? Actually, I need to write a letter to my brain, asking my brain, what's going on? How are you feeling? Writing it out. Talking to somebody. Immediately, I want to eat. Also, the DNA link, how did you learn the importance of food in your family? Some guys grew up with scarcity. Some people grew up and didn't have a lot of food in their family. And so that was one of the ways that you became a hoarder of food. I can remember growing up, and my mother, I love her, she would fix whatever we had. And then she would say, if let's say she fixed liver, oh my gosh. She would fix liver, well, this is what we have for dinner. Well, I don't like dinner. Well, you eat that or you don't eat anything, she would say. I mean, she had a right to say that, right? So I can remember making this, it was a word curse, and it was a vow too. I said, when I get grown, I'm going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and nobody's going to tell me anything about my food. Does that sound familiar? I said that. I'm going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and nobody's going to tell me nothing about my food. And you know what? Your body, your soul, your spirit hears all of that. And your soul says, bet, I'm going to hold you to your word. So growing up, late teen, early adulthood, especially when I was able to get a car and I got a job, honey, it was on and popping. And then when I met my husband, honey, it was really on and popping. Now I had a man that had a car, and we could go get food whenever we wanted to. Honey, you talking about packing on the pounds. Woo! Dunkin' Donuts, early morning, gallon of milk. And drinking and glutton and eating, drinking, glutton and eating. And baby, the pounds came on. This is interesting. People told me when I'm losing weight, but nobody tells you when nobody tells you when you're gaining weight. There's this silent agreement almost. I can't explain it. And like I said, you guys online, you can chime in. I can see your comments too. But there was like a silent agreement with my detriment, because obesity is a lonely chronic disease that nobody knows about. Everybody can see you. Everybody can see that you've eaten way too much, but nobody's going to say it, because I don't want you saying anything to me about my food. So I ain't going to say nothing to you about your food. I'm not going to embarrass you and tell you look like you done put on a bunch of weight. I ain't going to say that. I'm going to respect your privacy. I'm going to let you ride around in the trolley in the local store as long as you want to. I'm not going to say anything. And I'm not saying the little trolley motorized cart isn't needed for people who are having issues in their body. But when you see 99% of the people using them are morbidly obese and actually need to be walking, oh, don't say anything about that. Maybe I need another sip of water. I don't know. No, we ain't gonna say nothing about that, because that's that woman's business. Well, what has become the business of other people? A man just the day before yesterday fell through a hole in the ground at a construction site. The saddest part is that man was 500 pounds. I'm gonna say that part again. The saddest part is that that fella was 500 pounds. So now, what once we think is just our issue, it becomes everybody else's issue. You need to say, my body becomes everybody else's issue when I can't take care of my body. I'm going to say that again. My body becomes everybody else's issue when I can't take care of my body. When I don't have the strength to take care of my body. Now I'm dependent on somebody else to take care of my body. I'm not talking about stuff that you can't help. There are times neurologically things happen that we have nothing to do with. But what you put into your mouth and how it affects your body, you got everything to do with it. Say, it's on me. You need to say, it's on me. This is on me. So what do? We have to decenter food. We have to tell the truth about the things you can and cannot handle physiologically. How can you handle sugar for real? As I stand here actually, talking to empty chairs, and yet those chairs are filled in the emergency room with people who can't breathe because of bodily issues that they could have done something about. And this isn't to put blame on you or throw you under the bus. It's a wake-up call. Can you say this is a wake-up? It's a wake-up call. Can we just have wake-up calls that we really wake up to? It's a wake-up call. I have to tell the truth that losing weight isn't going to get rid of the obesity in my mind. So what are some of the things we need to do? We need to decenter food. We need to tell the truth about how certain things affect our bodies. We have to know and accept sugar makes our minds cloudy. Sugar, bam, you get the dopamine rush. You are high. You're just not yourself without a Snickers. So the commercial says. You eat the Snickers, you're on a high, you feeling good, or you drink your coffee. There's mainly sugar, oil, a little salt, bunch of cream, high, and then you crash. And then you're chasing after the high again. So what's going on in the body physiologically what's going on in your mind neurologically, what's going on in your heart spiritually, what's going on in your brain mentally. This up and down, up and down, up and down all day. And then people want to come to you and say, oh, girl, you losing weight. How you do that? You just look at them and go, I'm going to tell you. But you ain't going to want to do it. I can tell you how. But are you really going to want to do it? Because you have to deal with more than just the food. You have to deal with more than just the food. It's doable. But man, is it a challenge. Why? Because you have to challenge the way that you think about what you're putting in your body. We have to deal with trigger foods. What are some of your trigger foods? One of my trigger foods, and I've been free from it it's getting close to the 2-year range. And I'm so excited about that. It's sugar, white sugar. I haven't had any sugar, pasta, flour, cookies, bread, potato chips, potatoes, very rare, a little bit of mashed potatoes. But it's been almost 2 years. And I'm not waving the white flag like I got it together. I got it together. I'm like, God, thank you, because I can trip. The bread basket at the restaurant, I still go out to eat. But I go out to eat with awareness now. I don't go out to eat thinking that I can be around all of this stuff that I used to consume and it not bother me, or it not faze me. It's like a subtle, sweet alert that, you know what? They're going to bring out the bread basket, and I'm not going to put everybody else on some kind of strict regimen because I'm on it. That doesn't make sense. That's not punishment. So I'm sitting there, me and my husband, and honey, he tearing the bread basket up. And I let him eat it and enjoy it. He's not the one with the issue, it's me. Nor do I sit there sullen, mad, sipping on my Diet Coke or whatever, my water. I'm not sitting there sullen, mad at him because he's eating it. He's not the one with the issue. It's me. But it's me recognizing that I do, and me coming to a place of peace that, you know what? That's a trigger area for me. And it had to come to a point with me. I wanted to be free more than I wanted the food. For a lot of guys, it's going to take years to get there. But one thing I do recognize now is that I didn't have another 7 years to deal with getting ready. Most of us, we're at the age now, most of us are postmenopausal, or you're going into menopause. There might be even some guys watched by replay that are younger, and they're in their mid to late 30s. You don't have 10 years. Just look around at your friend group. Look around at the people who've passed away because of health-related issues. So it's a very serious issue. Like I said, here, Berrien County, we lead the statistical reality of severe obesity and obesity-related sicknesses. That's sobering. That's sad. That's scary. Yeah. So how will you decenter food? What are the trigger things in your life that you know for a fact I'm going to have to make some decisions whether or not I'm going to continue to consume this? Because the summer is coming, baby, and it's going to be on and popping. As a matter of fact, we are what? About a little less than what? It's March, April, May. We're almost at what? Memorial Day, the first holiday of the summer. About 2 months away from Memorial Day. On and popping, summer picnics, all of the outings, all of the fun in the sun, and still with a sick body. So we're going to have to make some choices and some decisions with deciding to let go of those trigger items. How bad do you want to be free? Sometimes we don't want to be free until the doctor asks us, who shall we contact? They're even to the point now where people are coming in and don't want to be weighed because they already know. I used to hate weighing because that scale was a place of accountability for me. I didn't want to weigh because I already knew. I ate like crap. Don't tell me to get on the scale. I don't want to face that number now. I am not the number, but the number was a place of accountability, and I don't want to do it. And now people are like, well, no, weighing is harmful to me. No, weighing is a place and a point of accountability, and people don't want to be accountable. I didn't want to be accountable. Did any of y'all want to be accountable at your heaviest? Or you might be at your heaviest right now. I didn't want to weigh. Nope. I don't want to face the truth. No, I'm not doing it. Why? Because I didn't want to face that number. Because the number tells the truth. Can you put on there, the number tells the truth? Put in a comment, the number tells the truth. Write on your paper, the number tells the truth. I know there's water weight and fluctuation and all of that, but baby, that number tells the truth. And I didn't want to deal with the truth. Don't make me get on the scale. Because I was going to have to face my reality of the gravitational pull on my body in reference to the amount of space that I'm taking up in my body. So deciding to let go. We could probably end it right there, as a matter of fact. I do have some neuroscience that I want to go through. But deciding to let go. Deciding to be disciplined. Uh-oh. Deciding to be disciplined. I know Pastor Faye is on here. Miss Sheila was on here. We did the 100 hard. At the end of 2025, we went 100 days. We posted our statuses every single day. Started off with about 40, 50 folks in the group. Couple of people chimed in here and there. And then slowly but surely, there was about 10 folks that were really starting to lock in. And then slowly but surely, the numbers chiseled all the way down to 3 of us. Finish what you start. We don't finish what we start except what we put on our plate. I'm going to say that part again. We don't like finishing what we start except for what we put on our plates, because the plate is what we can control. And we went for 100 days hard, and it trained us for what we're doing now. Was it hard? Yeah, it was hard. That's why it was called 100 hard, because it was hard. I would get up early in the morning and do lives, and it would look like the screen looks right now. 2, 3 folks hanging out. Most of the times it was Pastor Faye. Sometimes Miss Sheila. They watch it in replay. A lot of people, they would come up and they give you thumbs up. Oh, you're such a motivation. But nobody else was willing to put in the work. The question is, are you willing to put in the work in order for you to get better? Look at your past history. No new year, new me. No, I'm going to the gym. You don't need a gym to work out. If you need to go to the gym, go to the gym. How do you start? You just start. You make the commitment and you start. And guess what? Somebody say what? What? Life's still gonna happen. Life is still gonna be lifing. And people are going to stop clapping for you. And there's not going to be anybody there to pat you on the back. But you get a different release of dopamine. You get the dopamine that comes from keeping your word. There's the dopamine release that comes from you keeping your word and you doing what you said you were going to do for you. Because you promised. You promised you that you were going to do it. And you do it. And you don't complain. I don't know when it happens. I don't know when it shifts over from having to go to wanting to go. Maybe Pastor Faye can chime in. Somewhere along the way, you get so excited about this tonic dopamine. Two types of dopamine. There's tonic dopamine, which is long lasting over time because you keep your word and you do what you say you're going to do. And then there's phasic dopamine. Phasic dopamine is quick. Phasic dopamine is what we get from sugar and caffeine. It's not short. It's very short lived. It's looking at a video and laughing, scrolling again, looking for a video and laughing again. It's phasic. It's just a phase. It's quick. Tonic dopamine, long lasting, being sweaty and tired, but feeling so satisfied. Why? Because I did what I said I was going to do. That's why I'm doing this. That's why it's on live. That's why I'm standing here in the middle of a venue with mainly chairs. Why? Because I'm doing what I said I was going to do. I'm doing what I promised that I was going to do for me. And for you too. But I understand everybody don't want it. Everybody wants the weight loss. Everybody want to feel good, but you don't want to put in the work. That's something I had to admit too. I had to admit that to God. I want to lose weight, but I don't want to stop eating. I want to lose weight, but please don't tell me to give up my food. Lord, are you kidding me? I ain't smoking, drinking. I ain't popping pills. I'm not twerking. I ain't sleeping. I ain't doing none of that. And you mean to tell me I can't have all the Oreos that I want? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Changing your mind, changing the way that you think, deciding to change the way you think. Changing the way you think is a purposeful act until it becomes an unconscious act. I'm going to say that again. Changing how you think is a purposeful, intentional act until it becomes an automatic response. And most of the time when we get started in something new, we stop right before it becomes automatic. Talked to this one lady before. Oh, I need to stop eating sugar and oh, I feel awful. I said, well, have you ever stopped eating sugar before? I sure have. I said, well, how long did you go? I went 3 weeks. You did? What happened in the 4 weeks? Oh, I went back to eating sugar. I'm looking at her like, you were almost there. You were almost there to setting up and establishing a new neural pathway in your brain that says this is what we don't do. Why? We feel good when we don't eat sugar. Now, I ain't say I didn't eat anything sweet. I said I don't eat sugar. But we feel good, Lacey. That's what your organs are saying. Your heart, your lungs. We feel good. Your pancreas is saying, I feel good when you don't consume sugar. It's not taxing on me. Your pancreas it doesn't have to produce all this huge amount of insulin to balance your blood sugar. Your pancreas is like, oh my goodness, she's giving me a break. I'm going to scroll in and look it up. She's talking about food. Nope. I don't want to do about that. Why? Because I got to go to the mall today. I got to do this. I got to get my pizza. I got to get my ice cream. I don't want to do none of that. Don't talk about my food. Remember, food is very territorial. Just taking a deep breath. So I'm more reliant on the tonic dopamine that's happening in my body because of doing something I said I was going to do. Have you been a non-finisher? I'm going to take a sip of water while you think. Have you been a non-finisher? Have you spent your life as a non-finisher? You want to know why? Do you want to know why? Non-finishers? Because you actually get a release of dopamine just thinking about you finishing. Dopamine, there's a book. I don't remember the author's name. I'm going to find that book. I'm going to order it. And it's called The Dopamine Addiction. See if you can find that. Maybe I'll take a second here on my iPad. Okay. Let me see. Oh, okay, that's it. Okay, the book is called Dopamine Nation. Dopamine Nation. It was published in August of 2021, and it's by Anna Lembeck. Anna, A-N-N-A, Lembeck. L-E-M-B-K-E. L-E-M-B-K-E. I'm going to order that book. I'm going to order that book today. You actually get a dopamine release thinking about what it is you're going to do. You get all hyped up and excited. You look up inspiring quotes. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. 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 You're rocking back and forth. You're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then, can you say but then? But then, alarm clock goes off. Bam, day number 1. All right, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. All right, I got, woo. You put it on Facebook, honey. Ooh, that was a hard workout, but I got it done. Day number 6 come. All right, let's do it. The thing with that is don't have any days off. People ask me, how often do you work out? I said every day. Is it every day? I said I overate every day. So what? I overate every day. Since age 11, I overate. There wasn't one day since age 11 that I did not get up thinking about what I was going to eat and then aggressively pursuing the food that I wanted to eat. So just thinking about a goal, thinking about getting something done releases dopamine in you. And you're all excited. Day number 42. What? You still exercising, girl? I ain't been to the gym all month. What happened, girl? What happened was my ankle started hurting, then my hips started hurting, but you still overeating. Maybe I need to look at my notes. Do I need to look differently at my notes? We're still overeating. We're still sick. We're still taking high blood pressure medicine and water pills. We still need to go to the doctor, and the doctor tell us when we get off the scale, ooh, you picked up a few pounds. Well, yeah, life be life. And obesity don't have anything to do so much with your weight as it does with your thinking process. Because there's a lot of fat, skinny people. I'm going to say that again. There's a lot of fat, skinny people. And guess what? There's a lot of fat people that restrict and is over on the end of anorexia, but they eat a lot in private. You don't eat a lot. I didn't eat a lot in public, but when I got home by myself, That's when my obese friend sat down with me, and I could have pulled up a chair to my refrigerator and ate everything out of my refrigerator. And I was unwilling to tell the truth. And then would go to the doctor and lie to the doctor. What are you eating? Well, I eat, 2 boiled eggs for breakfast and, a couple of pieces of bacon. No, I wasn't. I was eating up to 4 eggs, up to 6 slices of bacon, up to 4 slices of toast by myself. I would go through a loaf of bread in 2 days by myself. Is this hitting home? Is that how you used to be, or is that how you are now? Quiet? Is this hard to listen to? It's hard to say, because it's hard and embarrassing to remember how much I ate all the time. And baby, don't let it be the weekend. It was nonstop glutting from Friday all the way to Sunday afternoon, with the promise of starting over on Monday. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about. The Monday lie, the trigger food that leads up to the Monday lie. Everything I was going to start on Monday. I was going to start the new workout regimen, or the Monday, or the first part of the month, or now the new year. Everything was projected, because remember, we get a release of dopamine just being excited about what we're planning to do, but we never do. Or we start just a little bit, then it gets hard immediately. And we realize, you know what? I want my food more. Or I want it. I don't want to do the work. Can you tell the truth? Can you tell the truth? Even you guys don't like it, you tell the truth. That I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to say what. And when you tell people that, give up what? And I tell them, yeah, that cupcake you got in your hand, that's trigger for you. Honey, I can handle 1 cupcake. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? I can't. Now, if you can do moderation, do it. But I'm going to tell you with 1,000% certainty, if you have ever been in the morbid obese category, you cannot do moderation. Moderation is not a part of your vocabulary. Let me know in the comments. Can you do moderation? I've never heard of an alcoholic, once they are living a life of sobriety, say, I think I can handle a couple of beers. As a matter of fact, there's a person that I know that has lived so many years under sobriety, they won't even get mouthwash with alcohol in it. Remember, the wiring can go dormant, but the wiring cannot be dismissed. I'm going to say that again. The wiring in your brain can go dormant, but it cannot be dismissed. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back that should be in the back listening to this, that the wiring in your brain can go dormant, but it cannot be dismissed. So you will always have the potential to binge. Can you raise your hand? Anybody? Are you brave enough to say, you know what? I know I've been free. Close to 2 years from sugar. I know I am. Right circumstances and not the right mindset, I will eat the sugar again. And I will gain all of it back again. I have to take a deep breath for myself, because ain't nobody talking. Ain't nobody witnessing with me. But your doctor witnessed with you when you're sitting in the operating room. That's the critical mass place. People being told for years, you need to get this under control. You need to get this under control. And then next thing we know, we're seeing names in obituaries. I got time. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you really sure you got that kind of time to play around, to not do research, to not really find out what's really going on in my body, what's going on in my brain? Why is it I can't stop? Why is it I know the Lord is telling me to let this go, but I don't want to let it go? And it becomes a place of rebellion. Gluttony is rebellion. Now, I ain't sleeping around. I ain't having sex outside of marriage, but I'm committing violence against my body. I'm eating until my stomach hurts. I'm eating until I want to throw up. I'm eating emotionally. I'm eating when I'm sad. I'm eating when I'm happy. I'm eating nonstop. I'm eating nonstop. I always got something in my hand, in my mouth. I got stuff at work. I got peanuts. I always got a piece of gum or a piece of candy in my mouth. I'm always chewing. Chewing calms me down. It's called, what is it? Maciation. I think it's called maciation. When you got to chew and crunch because it calms your nervous system. So what happens in the brain? I'm going to talk a little technical now. Because I started asking the Lord some questions. I said, wait a minute here. What's going on? Why is it I can't shake stuff off of me? God, why is it I just can't be like Sister So-and-so over there? Why is it I just can't snap my fingers and lose all the weight that I want to? Why is it I can't eat all I want? And the Lord is like, you just can't. Well, why not? Why you didn't make me like her? I want to be able to eat whatever I want to eat. Because I just thought weight was the issue, but it's not. So what happens in your brain neurologically? Okay? So, of course, you can have your hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus region of your brain. Your hypothalamus is affected by leptin and ghrelin that's in your stomach. So you have leptin and ghrelin in your stomach. And for those of us, there's some people who are watching, some people who I know who's had gastric sleeve surgery. And scary also who've had gastric bypass surgery. And guess what? Surgery don't get rid of obesity. It'll slow you down, but it won't make you not eat. Sooner or later, your stomach gonna heal. And if your mind isn't transformed, you go back to the eating. You always go back to the food. So when the leptin and the ghrelin is released through your gut, it affects your brain chemistry, and it turns on the eating signal. Okay? Leptin and ghrelin are hormones that's produced. The hypothalamus regulates body weight by monitoring hormones and nutrients in the bloodstream. Key neurons in the articulate nucleus controls hunger. Hunger neurons activated when energy is low increases your appetite. So there is a place to where you physically get hungry. But if I'm telling the truth, I never allowed myself to get hunger because to me, hunger was more than about an empty stomach. I'm going to say that again. Hunger was more than just an empty stomach. Hunger was more than just needing to refuel my body. I wasn't studying my body. I needed to refill emptiness in my soul. I'm going to say that again. I wasn't studying my body. I didn't care. I never allowed myself to get hungry because I was trying to fill emptiness in my soul. My soul was empty. and I was trying to fill it with food. So I had an increased appetite, but the appetite wasn't true. It was an appetite for wholeness, an appetite for healing. But I never let my body get hungry. So trigger food seeking behavior was the fastest way to get dopamine in my body, a dopamine release. So that's why when something happens, you want to reach for something quick. You want to reach for sugar. You want to reach for something crunchy. You want to reach for something. Have you ever noticed that whenever you have a food trigger issue, you're never reaching for carrots? You're never reaching for celery, lean meats. You never say, oh, wait, honey, I got a craving for apples and strawberry. You don't never have a craving for that. You never have a craving for nutrient-dense foods that's going to take longer to break down in your body. You don't crave that. You crave the sugar. You crave the salt. You want some Doritos. You want some corn chips. You got to get you some chocolate, something that will get into your bloodstream quick and release the dopamine so your body can go, that's so good. Caffeine. Something to release the dopamine quick. Not something that, oh, let me eat oh, honey, you know what? I got a craving for carrots and apples. No. And don't let it be around a food-centered event. Oh, my goodness. We got cake, a pie, a sock in the eye. You got everything. Fried chicken, nonstop, mashed potatoes, gravy, macaroni, and cheese. And guess what? All of it tastes good. So you get that big old scoop of pasta, shove it in your mouth, and your body goes, that's good. Big old slice of pizza, stuff it in your mouth, that's good. And all the while your organs are screaming for mercy. Baby, I'm telling you what I know. So it wasn't about fueling my body. It was about filling my feelings. F-E-E-L-I-N-G. I needed to fill, F-I-L-L, my feelings, because I didn't want to feel and deal with the pain that was actually going on in my life, in my mind, the stress. Stress is seen in the body as a form of pain. So give me something to numb the stress. Give me a drug. Give me a cookie. Give me a bag of cookies. Let's go out to dinner. I'll talk about friendships and obesity one day. So the satiation neurons, or the neurons in your brain that's supposed to tell you that you're full, deactivates after a while. It activates in the beginning and the appetite is reduced. And the energy is promoted and expended, but we eat beyond that. We're like, nope, I am not done eating until I eat it all. The Clean Plate Club, and we eat every bit of it. And yet and still our brain was trying to tell us 30 minutes before that it was full. Our brain was trying to tell us a plate and a half back that it was full, and that we didn't need another helping of macaroni and cheese. We don't need it to go plate. We don't need to go back for seconds. That's what your brain is actually trying to tell you. I don't need to go back for more food. I don't want any more. That's what your body, I don't want any more. But because of us trying to fill an emotional need, we keep on eating until our body goes numb. And we have food hangovers. Have you ever had a food hangover? A food drunk? Food drunkenness is what happens after Thanksgiving and we all fall asleep. It's not because of what's in the turkey. It's because of how much we put in our bodies. We don't eat a little bit of dinner and then go for a walk. We eat a whole lot of dinner and then sit and allow the food drunkenness to take over us. Then we pass out and go to sleep for a few hours just to wake up and do it all over again. Is this a hard conversation for y'all? Let me know in the comments if this applies to you. The hormones influencing the hypothalamus is leptin, ghrelin, and insulin. The insulin increases. In obesity, the brain often develops leptin resistance or insulin resistance, meaning the hypothalamus does not properly recognize fullness. Why? Because we've eaten over it for so many years. Like I remember telling that person, how often do you work out? Every day. Every day? I overate every day. I got to do something physical every single day. Taking a walk, doing a half-hour run in place. I need to do something because I overate every day. It's not a punishment. It's actually a reward. So I can get the release of tonic dopamine that I set out to work out. Even if it's just a side-to-side routine for 30 minutes, I did it. And that process of doing what I said I was going to do, that's the reward. Not that you get to wear tinier clothes, but that you actually did what you said you were going to do. And you can build on that. If I did that, I can do that. If I did that, I can go back to school. I can take a class. I can finish. Why? I'm going to finish what I start. So what happens is the dopamine reward system for food is reinforced as we eat over the signal in our brains and in our bodies that tell us, you know what, you full. And we say it, I'm full. I don't know why I'm still eating. Have you ever said that? Talk back to me. Have you ever said, I'm full and I don't need to be eating anymore, but I keep eating anyway? That's the only thing that's different between people who have wired their brain to be a normal eater, is that they actually stop eating when their brain says, I'm full. And I said, I don't know why I'm still eating. I don't know why I'm still eating. Because you wired your brain to be obese. Because of the reward. What's the reward? I get to do what I want to do. So hyper palatable, highly palatable foods, sugar, salt, fat, in that combination activates the mesolimbic dopamine system. Dopamine is crazy. Dopamine is a crazy drug in our bodies. Dopamine is crazy. So what happens is the ventral area of the brain releases dopamine. The nucleus accumbens processes the dopamine release as a reward. The amygdala, the emotions associated with the food. Sometimes we're eating things because it's associated with a memory and not because we like it. Are you eating because whatever you eat is associated with a memory? You don't like it. It just reminds you of mama and them, down south, your cousin there, whatever is surrounding that food. And that's the reason why you eat it. The hippocampus has to do with the food memory. I remember when mama and them cooked this, when we were down south, and that happened, and this happened, and that happened. And that becomes the rallying point around the food. That's why it's so important to decenter food. What are you doing in your gatherings that has nothing to do with food? Can you go through a holiday season without food being the main subject? Why can't your family be the main subject? Why can't the gathering be subjected to something that has nothing to do with, oh girl, let's have a potluck. You bring this and you bring this. That's why I'll never do an event like this and have food. Why? Because food is not the subject and food is not the issue. It's what's going on here. But I know if I had food here after a little break, people would rally to the table. to scarf everything in that they could. Why? To settle the nervousness in your mind. So what's the effect? You get food cues and triggers, releasing the dopamine. Just thinking about food, just thinking about certain foods can start your mouth watering, and you'll get really hyper excited. Why? Because you're going to get the food that you've been waiting to get, and that releases dopamine. So you got dopamine on top of dopamine on top of dopamine. Dopamine drop, you're back up, and you're chasing after it again. This is the reality of an obesic mindset. It can go dormant, but it won't go away. But you got to put the tools in place so that you can be healthy. Does that make sense? So the anticipation for the food drives the dopamine even when you're full, even when you're done eating, even when your body is like, I'm full, don't eat no more. You're just like shoving it in. This my food, you can't tell me what to do. Is that the new song? It's my food, you can't tell me what to do. So one of the things I do, I fix a small portion on purpose. Or I'll fix my portion and put it away. Why? Because it's still up there. Go back and get another spoonful. You can get another half a piece of chicken, even if it's healthy. Go back and get another half piece of chicken. My body isn't calling for it. Why am I getting another half piece of chicken? Because it goes dormant, but it don't go away. It can go dormant, but it don't go away. Ultra-processed foods create a strong reward learning. What's the strong reward? The release of dopamine quick. That's why the baby crying, acting the fool, give that baby a popsicle. Give that baby a lollipop. Stick something in that baby's mouth so the baby can associate comfort with something in their mouth. Comfort with sugar. Isn't that a trip? Associate comfort with sugar. Is the baby hungry? Why is that the first thing we ask? Is the baby hungry? Maybe the baby's wet, but we don't ask that. The first thing we ask is the baby hungry? Why do we put pacifiers in the baby's mouth? To pacify the nervous system. I need to give me a chair and have a seat. I might just do that. Let me get a chair. Oh, yeah, you can see me fine. Let me know how this is helping you. Is it helping you? Let me know if it's helping you. If you're going to watch it in replay, take notes. Because I know I'm not wasting my time because I'm being helped. If nobody else is being helped, I'm going to be helped because I'm going to be free. Because I can't live under false pretenses and lies and pretending that I'm okay. And I know I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I am now, but I can't pretend that living with an obesic mindset is impossible, because it is. But you're going to have to work, okay? You're going to have to work, and you're going to have to work hard. Oh, is that my sweetheart? He says, where's the secret? What's the secret to battling the nervous system? Thank you. Thank you, honey. What's the secret to battling the nervous system? You're going to have to activate the reality of tonic dopamine. Tonic dopamine happens through doing things physically. That means as much as people don't want to do it, you're going to have to exercise. Exercise produces tonic dopamine. Exercise releases dopamine in your body that gets an edge off before your day starts. or when your day is over. You're going to have to get on your treadmill. You're going to have to march in place. You're going to have to take walks. You're going to have to do jumping jacks, because that settles the nervous system. Thank you so much for that question, baby. That's a good one. And you're going to have to realize one of my main components to staying sober, I call it food sobriety. One of my main components of staying sober is working out. My honey can tell you how much I work out every single day, because I overate every single day. Not only did I overeat every single day, I could not get the food noise out of my head. What does that mean? Thinking about food so much. Eating and I know you've experienced this before, where you're eating at a restaurant and you're talking about food. It is such an insane thought that you're sitting there scarfing food into your mouth and still conversing about food. That is critical. So over time, your system becomes desensitized, meaning more food is required to produce the same pleasure signals. This resembles mechanisms seen in addictive behaviors. That's why overeating can be seen as an addictive behavior. But remember, we have a toxic food system in place that is going to make sure that you keep overeating. Why? The more you overeat, the more money they make. Pizza Hut Nam didn't close down during COVID. Burger King, McDonald's Nam, they were still open. That's how I knew that people weren't COVID scared, because those places still made money. Now, yeah, we're in a different place economically now, where some of the places had to shut down because people are realizing that they were selling crappy food, and they still sell crappy food. But them lines was long during COVID. We didn't know what those people had, coughing, sneezing, and spitting all over our food, and we lined up and got it. Talking about the essentials. Oreos and ice cream wasn't the essentials, but I got them. Bread, sugar, sandwich meat, luncheon meat, mayo, tater chips. Them wasn't essentials, but I got it, and I ate it all. So prefrontal cortex, what's happening in that? We might get done a little bit early. What's happening in your prefrontal cortex? This is your prefrontal cortex. Sometimes you need to tap yourself on the head and say, live up front. Live up front. What's happening in the prefrontal cortex? Your forehead region, okay? Let's take a look at that. Okay, your prefrontal cortex, or your PFC. Your prefrontal cortex has to do with your decision making. It is responsible for delayed gratification. It is also responsible for self-control. When functioning optimally, the PFC, or the prefrontal cortex, can override reward signals and stop overeating. We have exhausted our prefrontal cortex to the point to where we ignore it. So there's some things that weaken our prefrontal cortex, okay? Sleep deprivation. When you don't get enough sleep, you cannot make good decisions. I'm going to say that one more. When you don't get enough sleep, you can't make good decisions. You don't have the neural capacity to make good decisions. That's one of the reasons why people who happen to work midnight shift eat a lot. They eat a lot overnight while they're trying to stay awake, number one. And number two, the prefrontal cortex is disengaged because they're sleep deprived. Chronic stress. That means you stressed out all the time. It weakens your prefrontal cortex. Highly rewarding foods. That's those trigger foods. And alcohol and drugs. This is what we're seeing in our culture with drug-induced psychosis. I think, me personally thinking, that them making recreational marijuana legal was the absolute worst thing that they could do for our culture. I'm going to say that again. Them making recreational marijuana legal, the worst things. Like, where's the fresh air now? Like amongst old and young people, white people and black people. Nobody's exempt. Everybody smell like weed. Everybody down at the weed shop getting the gummies. Why? Because they want to numb out. You only want to numb when you don't want to deal with your life. So you want to numb. So you're going to do it a couple of different ways. You're going to try to do something to release the dopamine so you can numb out. You're going to drug it out. You're going to eat it out. You're going to shop. Whatever you can do to numb your nervous system, that's what you're going to do. So when the PFC controls drop, reward circuits, dopamine behavior increase, impulsive eating. So not only impulsive eating, but impulsive shopping, compulsive scrolling on social media, because you're still looking for the release of dopamine in your body and you can't get to it. You're just going to scroll nonstop, or you're going to continue to eat nonstop in the attempt to get the dopamine released into your body. So the stress part also increases cortisol, which increases your appetite. It increases your cravings for highly palatable foods. It's going to promote more fat storage. The amygdala is going to be hijacked. It's going to strengthen emotional association with food. Like I was saying just a minute ago about weed-induced psychosis, is that it's having such a detrimental effect on the brain chemistry in young people's minds. And that's what all the crashing out is about. Because the crash out culture that we're seeing doesn't make any sense. But if these young people are consuming massive amounts of THC, not the THC from your Auntie Nam drug, your Auntie Nam weed back in the day, not that. This is stuff that's sprayed on the weed, sprayed on the plants to be more toxic, to be stronger. And they're consuming that, and they're driving. They're consuming that, and they're trying to be parents. They're consuming that. And then on top of that, take that environment and have little children in that environment, then take and send all that secondhand weed consumption to school in these little children. I don't think we need another explanation as to why the kids are off the chain. Because not only are the parents smoking weed, the children, in essence, are smoking weed secondhand because they're inhaling it. And then we wonder what's wrong. So, what happens in the amygdala of the brain? The emotional attachment is strengthened. So, you consume more when you're anxious, when you're bored, and when you are emotionally distressed. Anxious, bored, emotionally distressed. You eat more. You want to snack more. It's easier to consume more. And repeating this behavior over time becomes an unconscious automatic act. an automatic act, an unconscious automatic act. And the habit circulates, or the habit circuits in the basal ganglia is strengthened, meaning it's now an unconscious act, and you do it automatically. You don't even try to. Something happens, bam. First thing you want to do is run to the cupboard to get something to eat. First thing you do is grab for the chips. First thing you do is grab for the pretzels. First thing you do is grab for something in order to stuff it in your mouth to try to calm your nervous system. For some guys, it's smoking, or it's smoking and drinking. It's smoking and food. It's something else along with something else to try to get the dopamine release so that your nervous system can calm down. There's a lot to this. So that's why it's never going to be about go on this diet plan and lose 20 pounds this month. No, because you can't get rid of obesity. It's in your brain wiring. You can rewire your brain to overcome what's already in there. But you have to first recognize what's in there. So what is it that we can do? As I gave a lot of information. A lot of people heard, a lot of people didn't want to hear. A lot of people look at a little bit of this later and decide, I ain't ready to deal with that. Well, you can do one or two things. You can be proactive and do something about it, or you can be reactive with no guarantee that what you react with is actually going to help. I'm going to say that again. You could be proactive or reactive. You could be proactive and do something about it and actually start to study your brain, how your brain is wired for obesity. Put the tools in place in order to get free and stay free. Or you can react with absolutely no guarantee that the amputation still won't happen, the blindness still won't happen. And that's the scary part. The stroke won't happen. This stuff is massive. It's massive what's going on. Young people. Oh, they had a heart attack, they had a stroke. What? How you gonna be, honey, how you gonna be under the age of 92 and have a heart attack? At this point, with all this free information out there, there's no reason anyone is sick. Unless the refusal to deal with how their brain works is in place. And then just letting the chips fall where they may. Well, you only live once, YOLO. But do you want it to be the absolute best life? Or do you want a life of sickness? That's a personal question. Honey, it got to the point where I was like, you know what, Lord? I want to be here for my great-grandchildren. I want to be here and I want to be healthy. Right now, starting back in 2024, I was not. I'd gotten back up to 270 pounds. I felt absolutely awful. Catastrophic event happened with a loved family member and God talking and saying, okay, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? And it doesn't make a difference what it is you do. Surgery, pills, powders, shakes, shot. You gotta deal with this up here. Because the pill, powder, shake, shot, surgery, none of that is gonna get rid of your obese thinking. You think like an obese person. You could be 112 pounds and still think like an obese person. So losing weight is not going to get rid of your obesity. Obesity is a chronic brain-based condition that we get to learn how to manage, how to overcome, and how to have the victory over, although we don't get rid of it. That was part of the lie. That's that part. That's the part that they don't tell you. That's the part that they don't tell you. You're not going to get rid of this. And you know what? They want you to not know that you're not going to get rid of it. So you never learn how to manage. You never learn how to overcome it. They just want you to keep living in the roller coaster of it. Lose weight, gain weight. Lose weight, gain weight. The yo-yo. And have you thinking, I'm just going to buy this program. I'm going to eat the meals on there. Voila. I ain't going to have to deal with it again. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Absolutely. So what would be the first steps? The first steps I would say to take is taking, I'm looking at my timer here, taking a really long look at yourself and deciding what kind of life you want to live. How much longer you want to live, Linda? How much longer you want to live? Another 5 years, 20 years? Okay. What kind of health do you want to be in for those years? Because you do know you can live a long time sick. Okay. Secondly, what do you have a say-so over? Do you have DNA stuff going on in your physical body that you don't have a say-so over? Or is the 90% of what you're dealing with completely reversible? Is it reversible? Can you do something about it? That's question number 2. Question number 3, be honest with yourself about where you are. Psalms 51:6 says, he desires truth in the inward man, and in the hidden parts he would make me to know wisdom. It was like God wasn't even willing to deal with me until I told him the truth. God, I don't like it. I don't like that I can't eat everything I want. I'm mad. I told God I am mad. I wasn't mad at him. I was just mad at the situation and the reality that I couldn't eat all the junk that I wanted to eat. I'm mad at you. I'm mad, period. What you mad for? Because I can't eat all them cookies and ho-hos and Twinkies. I can't eat all the pizza and bread and white rice and all that pasta at the Olive Garden that I want and not get sick. I wasn't living. And lastly, how bad do you want to be free? That was the place that took me the longest to get to. Because for the longest time, I wanted to be free, but I didn't want to give up the food. But there came a point when I wanted to be free more than I wanted the food. Yeah. It took a while to get there. And I'm sure you guys that are online and you guys that are here today can be honest with yourself. Honey, you over 50? Honey, you over 50? 55? You ain't got 10 years to figure that out. I had to stop playing games with myself and say, okay, how bad do I really want to be free? Do I want to be free bad enough to give this stuff up? You mean you haven't ate a piece of bread in almost 2 years? Absolutely. You don't miss bread? I think about it. I especially think about it when I go get my husband these Hawaiian sandwiches. I hate the Hawaiian sandwich. But honey, that French bread, woo, honey, I could just think of pinching off a piece of that bread and putting some butter on it. But while riding in the car with that hot Hawaiian sandwich, sitting in the passenger seat, I think, as good as that bread smells, I will not jeopardize my freedom. And that's really what it becomes about, jeopardizing my freedom. And I have to talk right out loud to myself and actually say, as good as it smells, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. And that's what I'll leave you with. Has it been worth it? The swollen ankles, the not feeling good in your skin. Don't worry about feeling good in your clothes. You can always get bigger clothes. but you can't feel good in your skin. That fake body positivity crap. Lizzo, Melissa McCarthy, Oprah, all of them fakes. And it fooled people for years, thinking all you got to do is be big and beautiful. And they were faking. I'm a big boss. 500, 600 pounds. Everything's swole. I'm big, but I'm beautiful. You're sick. Love yourself, absolutely, but don't love where you are, especially when you know that's not where God wants you to be. And I knew that. I don't lie to myself. I'm just going to have to be big and loved of the Lord. Honey, I was 270 pounds. Nip out back up to 300 pounds. And you mean to tell me I'm going to lie to myself listening to the foolishness of liars? All you got to do is be a good person. And sweaty and hot and miserable in the summer. Am I going to be the only one to tell the truth, or are you going to tell the truth about you? See, if this room was full, that's what I would tell them. Am I going to be the only one to tell the truth, or are you finally going to look in the mirror and tell the truth about you? That you hate being in the body that you're in. Because it's not the body God wants you to be in. That's why that friction is there. And we override that. Honey, I'm just going to be big, blessed, and loved of the Lord, and feeling absolutely miserable in your body. Lying to yourself, lying to everybody else. Honey, I'm very active. Yeah, you're active at the refrigerator at night. You sure is. Because I was active. Pulled my chair to that refrigerator and turned it out. Trying to feel my emotions. That's why I'm telling you, you're not going to get rid of obesity. You can lose weight, be all cute and petite, and still have an obese mind. So this is where we start. This is where we tell the truth. And this is where we start getting tools and information and telling the truth. And I'm going to tell the truth regardless, because I'm going to be free up in this piece. So I'm glad that you came today. I'm glad you listened. I'm glad if that's you, you'll watch this in repeat, replay. You'll watch it again. You get information, tools. If you want the handout, you can inbox me. Let me know. I plan on doing this again. If it's nothing but to reiterate to myself, freedom is possible. But you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to be honest. And you're going to have to do the work to get free. And then do the work to stay free. And that's all up to you. Can't nobody make you be free. And if you still want the food right now, okay. But I pray that there's an awakening that comes. Because you can't do anything about anything else that's going on. Thank you so much, Minister Lola, for coming on. And this is it. You could use these principles for everything. It's not just with weight loss. It's with restriction, too. Because one of the things obese people do is we restrict a lot, too. We can do either or. The only thing is that we're obese and we're restricting, while people who deal with anorexia is very thin and restricting. It's the same mindset. It's the same dopamine release reward system that we're trying to get. We're trying to get the release of dopamine so we can settle our nervous system. But God has a way for us to do that. How? He says, cast your cares on me because I care for you. He says, come out and take a walk with me. Come out and talk to me. Come out and cry it out with me. Let me show you my strategies and my tools for freedom. Because I'm going to be free. I'm going to be free up in this piece if nobody else want to. I'm going to be free because, honey, the places of bondage, whew, no, I'm not doing it again. So I want to share with you and keep sharing with you. Let me know if this was helpful to you after you replay it. That's fine. Blessings to you. You can find a lot of information online. You can ask your computer what happens to your brain neurologically when you restrict, what happens to your brain neurologically when you overeat, when you self-sabotage, what happens in your brain region, so you can get a handle on why you do what you do. And I got that from Ephesians chapter number 4, verses 22 and 23, or especially verse number 23. It says, and be constantly renewed in the spirit of your mind, having a fresh new attitude, a fresh new disposition. So it's like being renewed in your mind, then being renewed in the spirit of your mind, the neurological part of your mind. So you'll be aware and understand what's happening in your brain when these things are going on and you're doing good and you're running and you feel like your brain just gets clenched and hijacked. The next thing you know, you're depressed, you're sad, you're distant, and you don't know, how did I get back here? I was just doing good. What happened? It's only in researching and asking God, what's going on in my brain? And then He'll start giving you strategies and tools on how to take authority over your brain, your mind, so that we can really prove what is this good, acceptable, and perfect will for our life is. Okay? Okay. That's kind of the bulk of what I want to share. I hope this has blessed you. Consider it. Paul told Timothy, consider what I say, and the Lord will give you understanding of it. Consider it. Because the amount of freedom that I've had just in the last few months of studying this has been life-changing. I am right at the peak of 80 pounds lost, and this is just in the physical. But the reward in my brain, I can't number. So you could pass this along to somebody else who's struggling in that area, and to tell them, hey, you know what? There's something else going on in your brain that you need to consider, okay? All right, well, that's all I got to share. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Rewatch this, pass it along. I hope you're blessed, and keep traveling with the Lord, because He wants to do amazing things in your life. And He wants you to be a part of it and partner with Him, okay? All righty. Well, you have a blessed day. And I'm going to be back again soon with another chat that I want to share live and in person. And I think I'll share it online too, okay? All right. Well, you have a blessed day, a blessed weekend, and I'll see you again soon, okay? All right.